Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is ViperStrike95. I hope you're all doing well here today. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you're all having a good day today. Today we're back with our All Country series here, and today we're here in Algeria today. This will be our first country in Africa we'll be covering in this series. So yeah, Algeria, located in Northern Africa. Algeria is a really interesting country. It's absolutely huge. Africa's largest country, and it's quite a diverse area too, in terms of scenery and stuff. But we got some historical cities to visit, as well as major topics in our history. So let's go ahead and say hello to everyone in chat. I hope you're all having a good day for all of you guys here too. Hello to all the lurkers and stuff. Hope you're all doing very well. So I hope you're all doing well here. So here's our flight plan for this morning's stream for this afternoon. Here's our flight plan. Oh yeah. So we're going to start here at Annaba Airport, Delta Alpha Bravo Bravo, fly over the city of Annaba. Then from there, we'll head southwest to the city of Constantine, and we'll make our stop at Delta Alpha Bravo Charlie here in Constantine. Then from there, we'll head northwest and make our way to the port city of Béjaïa, with a landing at Delta Alpha Alpha Echo. Then finally, for the third and last leg, we'll be headed our way over to the capital and largest city of Algeria, Algiers. We'll fly over downtown Algiers and make our way over to Delta Alpha Alpha Golf, Algiers International, for our last stop of the day. So, sounds pretty simple enough. So before we get started flying, I do want to talk about our first place we'll be flying over today, Annaba, or known as the place of the Jujubes. It used to be formerly known as Bona, and Bone. This seaport city, northeast Algeria, has a population of 263,000, and its metro is 1 million, making it the third largest city in Algeria, and is the leading industrial center in the country. It underwent significant growth during the 20th century and has had a metropolitan area with higher population density than those of Oran and Algiers. Much of eastern and southern Algeria uses the services, equipment, and infrastructure in this city. Economically, it is the center for various economic activities like industry, transportation, finance, and tourism. Annaba grew up as on the site of Aphrodisium, the seaport of the Roman city of Hippo Regius, from the Roman ruins. Of course, tourism is a big deal. It's one of the major centers for tourism due to its access to mountains, foothills, the plains surrounding it, making it a big time for seaside and maritime tourism as well as mountain tourism. It has many key religious sites, including the St. Augustine Basilica. It also has a verdant main street, with a bustling promenade for nightlife, and it has a war cemetery, which is a memorial to those of the British Empire. So there's definitely some really cool stuff here in this city. So we're gonna take the Diamond DA-40 today. That is the aircraft we'll be taking for this afternoon's flight. So we'll count with us. Here we go. Go ahead and turn off the parking brake. Our first leg will take us about 5,000 feet. Go ahead and take off. The first leg will be about 70 nautical miles. Here we go. So I wanted to ask you guys, I hope you guys have a good week so far. I know the weekend's finally come. I'm about to work on finish my first part of my work tonight. So we're going to be going up to this. And of course, Sunday, my next stream is going to be the National Park Series. We'll be doing Sequoia National Park on Sunday. We're going to take the Savage Northern up. We're going to fly into Sequoia, which should be a lot of fun. Fly over a historic national park. Really cool place to visit, of course. Absolute blast. Hey, Quartz, good to see you. I hope you're doing well, my dude. So once we fly over Annaba, we're going to go ahead and cover our slides for a bit. So this is the coastal city of Annaba here in Algeria. Ah, nice, the A350. That sounds like a lot of fun, of course. For our series, of course, we do this weekend. We do have quite a few other people streaming this weekend. I know Allison's streaming again this weekend. Another of her historical recreation flight. She'll be doing the I believe she'll be doing another recreation flight. I'll probably post it later. Oh wait, no, she's out of town. I forgot. She's out of town, so Allison's not streaming. I think Murph's gonna be back this weekend. I don't know when he's gonna be back streaming. And people's going on breaks, and of course I have a break next week. This is the coastal city of Annaba, Algeria. Pretty cool, huh? And oh yeah, that's right. Thank you, Typhon. Yeah, I'm really excited for this coming up. So we're gonna go ahead and cover our slides. We have fly to 5,000 feet. Let's go ahead and cover Algeria for a bit. So Algeria, in North Africa, it's bordered by the countries of Tunisia, northeast to Libya, southeast by Niger, southwest by Mali, Mauritania, and Western Sahara, to the west by Mexico, and north to the Mediterranean Sea. The capital and largest city is Algiers, located in the Mediterranean coast. And since prehistory, Algeria has been a crossover of numerous cultures and civilizations for millennia. From the Phoenicians to the Romans, the Byzantine Greeks, and of course, its modern identity is from Arab Muslim migration since the 7th century and the Arabization of the Berbers. Of course, span over 2.38 million square kilometers, Algeria is the world's 10th largest nation by land area, and it's the largest nation in all of Africa. Yes, Algeria is actually massive of a country. It is huge. Oh, and like I said, only 9 countries are larger than Algeria in terms of land area. In terms of where you put it in land area, it's between Kazakhstan and the DR in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So yeah, it is absolutely huge. It's semi-arid climate with the Sahara Desert dominating most of the territory. Is dominated by the Sahara, except for the fertile mountainous north, where most of the population is concentrated. And its population is around 44 million, which is the 10th most populous country in Africa. Algeria is a regional power in North Africa and a middle power for global affairs. As of 2025, the country has the highest human development index in continental Africa and Africa's 3rd largest economy due to its large petroleum and natural gas reserves, which are among the 16th and 9th largest in the world, respectively. It's also a member of the African Union, the Arab League, OPEC, and the United Nations. But yes, Algeria definitely is a really unique and really interesting nation to learn about. So in order to learn more about Algeria and to learn more about the country, let's start with its history. Now, Algeria, people have been around Algeria for thousands of years, but of course, around 1.8 million years ago, they found stone artifacts from Ain Tanek, which were considered to represent the oldest archaeological materials in North Africa. Some stone artifacts are covered to be around 1.9 million years old, and some might even be as old as 2.4 million years. Of course, Neolithic civilization developed in the Saharan Mediterranean area, perhaps as early as 11,000 BC or as late as 6,000 to 2000 BC. This life originally depicted in many of the paintings, predominant in Algeria until the classical period, and the mixtures eventually coalesced to a distinct native population, known as the Berbers, who are the indigenous people of North Africa. Of course, the first well-known civilization to get in this region was Carthage. The Carthaginians actually established in Carthage, which is now Tunis and Tunisia. The Carthaginians expanded and established small settlements around the North African coast. And by 600 BC, a Phoenician presence at Tipasa, which is east of Kirchel, Hippo Regius, which is Annaba, and Rusicade, which is Marseille of Skidada, and served as market towns and anchorages. As Carthage's power grew, of course, Carthage, the indigenous population increased, and Berber civilization was already where agriculture supported several states, and the trade links in the Carthage and Berbers grew. And by the early 4th BC, the north was divided by many of the kingdoms, between the Masalite kingdom to the west and the Masalite kingdom to the east, and the Berbers formed the single large element of the Carthaginian army. Of course, there was a rebellion from 41 to 230 BC, which followed the Carthage defeat in the First Punic War. And of course, they controlled all of North Africa. In 146 BC, Carthage was destroyed by the Romans, and as Carthaginian power waned, the influence of the Berber leaders grew. And by the 2nd BC, several large but loosely administered Berber kingdoms had emerged, including those in Numidia, Mauritania, and more. Of course, the Berber kingdoms were divided and reunited several times before Berber territory was eventually integrated into the Roman Empire. For centuries, the Romans ruled all of Algeria, who founded many colonies in the region. In fact, you wouldn't believe this, but Algeria is actually home to the 2nd largest number of Roman sites and remains after Italy. Yes, Algeria, of all places, funnily enough, more Roman sites than countries like Italy, more so than Spain, Portugal, France, even Croatia. Yes, there's tons of these sites in Algeria, funnily enough. And they built over 500 cities in this country, which is pretty crazy. Of course, after centuries of Roman rule, of course, the Vandals moved into the region in 429, and by 439 controlled coastal Numidia. However, the Vandals did not make any significant settlements as they were harassed by the local tribes. Then when the Western Roman Empire collapsed, it led to the establishment of a native kingdom based in modern Algeria known as the Moro-Roman Kingdom, before being succeeded by another Kievan and Altava. Of course, this didn't last too much longer because, after negative resistance from locals, Muslim Arabs of the Umayyad Caliphate conquered Algeria in the 8th centuries. Now, large numbers of the indigenous Berber people did convert to Islam. However, Christians, Berber, and Latin speakers remained a great majority in Tunisia until the 9th century, and Muslims only became a vast majority in the 10th century. And of course, after the Umayyads' fall, local dynasties took over and led to all sorts of local dynasties in this area. During the Middle Ages, North Africa was home to many great scholars. Some of these did many Algerian scholars. Ibn Qurash, the first grammarian to mention different languages, the Sufi masters of Sidi al-Manid, Sidi al-Hawari, and the emirs of Abd al-Manudan, Yaga Marasim. All these different scholars and stuff came from Algeria. Of course, several Amazigh dynasties emerged during the Middle Ages in many of the Maghreb and nearby lands, and there were many different dynasties of the Amazigh peoples, including that of the Zend, Ifrind, Almoravid, Almoravid, and Hafsid dynasties. Of course, after local conflicts with some of the local pirates, Spain actually invaded Algeria back in the back during all this time. In 1505, Spain captured Iran as well. But of course, one pretty big interesting change that happened during this time period was in 1516, when the Turkish privateer brothers of Arouj and Hayreddin Barbarossa successfully operated under the Hafsids, moved their base to Algiers, and they conquered it from the Spaniards with the help of locals. Then they viewed them as say, and then they took over this known as the Regency of Algiers. And it was actually what the Regency was basically it was a semi-independent Ottoman province of the Ottoman Empire. So all this became part of the Ottomans. Of course, the plague struck a lot of areas in North Africa. Algiers lost between 30,000 to 50,000 inhabitants in 1620, 1621, and high fatalities in other plagues in 1654, 1665, 1691, and 1740. Of course, one major thing Algeria had issues with was the Barbary pirates, and they preyed on Christian and other non-Islamic shipping in the Mediterranean. Pirates often took the passengers of cruising ships and sold them or used them as slaves. And between the 16th and 19th centuries, pirates captured 1 to 1.25 million Europeans as slaves. Of course, Barbary raids continued into the Mediterranean to continue attack shipping merchants, resulting in the Spanish Empire invading Algiers in 1775, but they failed to pacify it. Of course, the pirates still remained a threat even to the 19th century, as Algerian pirates remained a force in the Mediterranean, and forging affiliation with Caribbean powers as well. And attacks on the American merchants resulted in both the First and Second Pirate Barbary Wars, which ended the targeted U.S. ships. And a year later, the Anglo-Dutch fleet bombarded Algiers, which eventually led to Algeria stopping attacks on Europeans. However, the thing that really changed Algeria and be a major deal was, of course, the French took this area in 1830. The French invaded and captured Algiers in 1830. Of course, on the pretext of many historians, apparently the methods used by the French reached genocide proportions. By 1785, the French conquest was complete. The war killed nearly 825,000 Algerians. since 1830. The French conquered Algeria, took some time and bloodshed. And as a result, Algeria became a part of France, part of the French Empire between 1840 until its independence in 1962. France administered the entire Mediterranean region of Algeria as an integral part in the Department of the Nations, and is one of France's most longest held territory. And Algeria became home to thousands of European immigrants known as colons and later Pied Noirs. During the late 19th and early 20th century, the Europeans were around 1/5 of Algeria's population, and the goal for the French government was to make Algeria a part of France. And this included even more investments after 1900. Of course, during the Second World War, Algeria became control of the Vichy France, or delivered by the Allies in Operation Torch, which saw the first large-scale deployment of American troops in North Africa. Eventually, with gradual dissatisfaction among the Muslim population, gave rise to demands of greater autonomy and eventually independence for France. In May 1945, the uprising against the French was suppressed and known as the Sétif and Guéma massacre. Eventually, tensions between the two population groups eventually came to a head in 1954 when the first violent offense, what was later known as the Algerian War, occurred, and the fighting lasted for several years, and it was some brutal fighting, of course. Led to some brutal fighting and stuff. Eventually, the war ended in 1962 when Algeria gained complete independence from France, when they signed the Evian Agreements in the July 1962 self-determination referendum. Of course, a lot of the Pied Noirs fled in Algeria. Over 900,000 people fled between 1960 and 1964. It was accelerated even more in 1962 with the Oran massacre, where hundreds of belligerents entered European Central City and attacked civilians. And its first president was FLN leader Ahmed Ben Bella. Then it led to a conflict in 1963 with Morocco. And then he was overthrown in 1965 by Houari Boumediene, or his former ally defense minister, and he lasted until 1978. Of course, Boumediene's successor, Chai Bendid, did a lot more liberal reforms and promoted the policy of Arabization in Algerian society and public life. In 1991, of course, was the Algerian Civil War happened when the Islamic Salvation Front dominated the legislative election, interfering in the election of an Islamist government. Authorities intervened in 1992, canceling the elections. Of course, it led to a conflict between both sides with the Islamist militants. But eventually, the Civil War did end in Algeria. In 2002, which was the official end of the war. There was an election in 1999 considered biased. And eventually the Civil War ended in 2002 with peace deal and national reconciliation. And of course, there were protests that continued throughout the 2010s as well. And there were continued protests throughout the 2010s and stuff as well. Most recently, Algeria's president was Abdel Tebboune. And he was accused for those being for the military. It's been a little bit unstable history for here in... Yes, I'm doing Algeria. Sahara. I don't really have any donations. I can't really donate since I can't really do it. Good to see a sneaky fiddly. 753's been pretty good for me. Parts. I think it's going pretty good. The 753's going pretty good. Good to see Sneaky Fiddly. I'm doing it alphabetically, yes. The last time you looked at Algeria, it looked Sahara. It is mostly Sahara for much of it. But most of the country is dominated by the Sahara Desert. However, we're finding the up north. We're finding the more mountainous region today. It would be nice to get a bit of a break from the more deserty region. It would be boring to look at deserts, so I wanted to do the mountains today. But yeah, I can't really donate, sadly, though, because, like I said, I haven't done any monetization stuff yet. So I can't really do any of that. But I definitely appreciate your contribution. So yeah, this is the part of the mountainous areas here in Algeria, of course. You definitely see that this is considerably more mountainous compared to the rest of the country. So, I do want to talk a little bit about, before we get to Constantine, I do want to talk about a bit about Algeria's geography for a bit. So geographically speaking, of course, Algeria is the world's 10th largest nation by land area. Um, Algeria is now the largest country in Africa since the breakup of Sudan. The southern part contains a significant portion of the Sahara. To the north, you can find the Tel Atlas Mountains and the Saharan Atlas Mountains further south. And you also have two sets of parallel reliefs eastbound, which are part of the vast plains and highlands. Most of the coastal area here in Algeria is hilly, sometimes even mountainous, and there are a few natural harbors in the country. The area east, go to the east, to the Tel Atlas is fertile land. There's the Sahara Desert as well. There's definitely quite a bit of mountains all throughout this region. In Central Sahara, you can find the Hogar Mountains, which is the highland region in Central Sahara, and it's located in southern Algeria. You can find the Hogar Mountains, way down the south. But typically, most people live up in the northern regions of Algeria. And of course, for climates, yeah, northern Algeria is pretty temperate, and it has a mild Mediterranean climate, and enjoys the same latitudes as Southern California and has somewhat similar climatic conditions. Its broken topography, however, provides sharp local contrast in both temperatures and incidence of rainfall. In the Tel region, temperatures range between 40 to 30 to 43 degrees Celsius, or 86 and 109 degrees Fahrenheit, and the weather could drop down to 50 to 54 degrees. Winters are not cold, but the humidity is high, and houses are seldomly adequately heated. Of course, the rest of Algeria, however, further south, is all desert. Rainfall in the Tel regions goes up to 15 to 26 inches of rain annually, and it increases west to east. However, the rest of Algeria could go up to 110 degrees in Algeria. Yes, temperature, it can absolutely go really, really hot. And even during the midday, the winter's temperatures can be really, really hot. However, after sunset, it really cools off, and you can find some daily winter temperature changes. For example, some bits of the southern half of it can get really hot. When they go low, they go very low in temperature. Yes. Yeah, that map, it's a climate map. Um, yeah, I really like I said, I try to find some geographical maps and all that too, to show geography and stuff as well. I know it's pretty crazy. In terms of terrain, the tallest point in Algeria, by the way. The highest point in the country is Mount Tahat, which is around 9,800 feet, and it's located in the southern. It's located in the southern half of the country. So, so definitely pretty important stuff. We're going to go ahead and make our way over to Constantine. That will be our first stop of the day. So Constantine will be our first stop of the day. Is Constantine. So Constantine is the capital of its own province in northeast Algeria. It was during Roman times. It was known as Sirta, and was renamed Constantina in honor of Constantine the Great. From 50 miles from the Mediterranean coast and the banks of the Rumel River. Oh, we have a fall. Good to see you, Wealth 75. I hope you're doing well. Oh, it's a bot. Sorry about that. It was a bot. It's considered to be the capital of Eastern Algeria. Its population around 450,000 people, and with its agglomeration about 938,000, making it the third largest city in the country. There are several museums and historical sites all across the city. And Constantine's often referred to as the City of Bridges due to the numerous picturesque bridges connecting the various hills, valleys, beings that built the city. It was once also named the Arab Capital of Culture in 2015. Definitely pretty cool. There's a lot of sites here in the city. including the historic the Great Mosque of Constantine, the Central Museum, which displays ancient and modern art, the Ahmed Bey Palace, um, Masinima's Mausoleum, and more are some of the main sites here in this city. Let's go ahead and prepare for our landing, our first landing of the day here. This here is the city of Constantine. That's pretty cool, guys. That's definitely a pretty city here. You can definitely see why it's called the City of Bridges. I can definitely see. And there's no reason like Diamond is. I mean, you got amazing visibility. See out of the front. All those bridges, all those hills. We're going to land here at Delta Alpha Bravo Charlie here. Not that far. Our airport's straight ahead. Hey, Plan Neutral, good to see you, my dude. We're flying in Algeria today. I hope you're doing well, my dude. So let's give him a shout out. If you guys don't know about Plan Neutral, a really great friend of the channel. He's done a lot of his streams, love his stuff. So we're doing another part of our 50 states and 50, not our 50 states, all country series. We're in Algeria. We're exploring mainly northern Algeria today since it's got diverse scenery with mountains, coastlines, and it's where you can find a lot of the cities in the country. That's why I mainly fly here, because it's where all the major cities are located. So, yeah, the terrain here in Algeria is pretty cool. The northern half is a lot more unique compared to the southern half of Algeria. Yes. Let's stop here. Hey, Sir Def, good to see you, my dude. Welcome on in. We're gonna take a bit of a break here for a minute and check out prepare for the next leg in Algeria. We're gonna go ahead here for a bit. we're going to go ahead and prepare for the next leg. We're going to go up to the city of another coastal city. This is Bejaia. We're going to go ahead and pay that city a visit. Our altitude for this leg is going to be 6,000. About 1,000 more feet than last time. And we're going up, 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 and guys, I hope you have really cool plans for this weekend. For me at least, I also got plans to watch Everton Sunday, so do not be surprised if you see me in Everton jersey for Sunday stream, because I'm gonna have to be watching the Toffees play. Here as well. Don't be surprised if you see me in a blue shirt and a scarf tomorrow. Do not be surprised. Oh crap, it's on USA. Well, I'll be wearing that tomorrow still. Pretty cool stuff. But yeah, Everton's playing Sunday, so that's going to be a pretty big game for the Toffees, of course, for the Premier League. I know tomorrow's going to be some pretty big games. Burnley, Sunderland, Arsenal, Leeds. Pretty nice. Manchester City, Spurs are going to be the real. For La Liga, of course. La Liga is going to be on this week as well. I've been following that for a bit. It's the Spanish League of La Liga. Tonight's Betis versus Alaves should be pretty nice. For me, my club, I watch Espanyol's taking on Real Sociedad. Here as well. The Bundesliga, Eintracht Frankfurt's going to be playing against Werder Bremen. That should be pretty cool. And AS Roma is going to be playing. AS Roma is playing tomorrow against Bologna. So pretty cool stuff for me. Yay sports. Pretty cool stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about our slideshow for a bit. Let's talk about the flora and fauna of Algeria. So, flora and fauna speaking, there's actually a wide range of wildlife thanks to the varied vegetation, including coastal, mountains, and grassy desert-like regions. Forest not surprisingly, only covers 1% of total land area in all of Algeria. But there's been more forest now than it was in 1990. And of course, many of the creatures contributing to wildlife live in close proximity to civilization. Most common sea animals being wild boars, jackals, and gazettes. So, although it's not uncommon to spot phoenix, which is a species of fox, and jarobas. They also have a small African leopard and Saharan cheetah population, but are not seen. Of course, the national animal of Algeria is the fennec fox, which, of course, these are definitely pretty well known for their big ears, which allows them to adapt into the desert environment. Thanks to its unique coat, ears, and kidney functions for the desert environment. And they mainly eat insects, small mammals, and birds, and they can live up to 14 years of captivity. Pretty cool. They have a unique diet and all that stuff too. They mainly hunt at night. Yeah, aren't these little foxes pretty cute? Of course, in terms of flora species here in Algeria, some of the native flora in the north include the machia scrub, olive trees, oaks, cedar, and conifers. While the mountain regions contain large forests of evergreens, mainly owl-apple pine, juniper, and evergreen oak trees, some deciduous. Grape vines are also indigenous to the coast. In the Sahara, you can find some oases, palm trees, acacias acacias and wild olives are the flora in the rest of the. And of course, camels are used extensively in Algeria is camels. Now, fun fact about camels, if for some of you guys that don't know about camels and probably don't know, they're actually really fascinating animals. Camels are really interesting because, for one, camels are actually part, of course, camels are part of the Charter Brooke family. Uh, Camels are actually part of the ungulates. They're part of the even-toed ungulates and have been domesticated in livestock for thousands of years, and they're mainly suited for the deserts. And there are three surviving camel species. The one you find here in the desert is the dromedary camel. You find them all over the deserts here in Algeria. They originally come from the Middle East, but they spread all their way out here. But these camels are really cool. They eat a lot of foliage, dry grass, and vegetations. And they actually eat a lot of thorny food. They keep their mouths open when chewing thorny food, their lips. And it has special unique adaptations for surviving the deserts. Their hub actually is the place where they store water, and they can store a lot of water. They also have specialized functions for respiration and more. But camels are really cool animals, and they're really in terms of government, at least, Algeria's government is mainly authoritarian. Elected politicians have little sway over the affairs of the country. Instead, a group of unelected civilian military deciders, known as les pouvoirs, the power exercise de facto rule over the country, even deciding who should be president. The most powerful man might have been Mohammed Mehdi, the head of military intelligence, before he was brought down in 2019. Of course, the head of state in Algeria is the president of Algeria. He's elected for a 5-year term. He's limited to 2 5-year terms. The most recent was planned to be 2019, but protests resulted in the president's decision to elect the president. The Parliament of Algeria is bicameral. The lower house, the People's National Assembly, has 462 members who are elected directly in 5-year terms, while the upper house is 6-year terms. 96 of the 144 members in the upper house are chosen by local assemblies, and 48 appointed by the president himself. But yes, it has had a lot of authoritarian part of its history. Hey, Bonnie's player, good to see you, my dude. Welcome on in. We're flying in Algeria today. We're heading our way over to Bijaya. So we're about 164 nautical miles out from our final stop. So that's where we're at currently. But yeah, the scenery looks pretty nice up here. You can tell. The scenery looks absolutely gorgeous. So you guys want to know our next country? After Algeria, our next country, which will be on Friday the 29th, I believe. I don't know if I'm going to be gone that day. It would be Andorra. So it would be the mountainous landlocked area between Spain and France. So thank you for the shout out, Typhon. Thanks for giving him a shout out. Really good friend of the community. We enjoyed a lot of his stuff. We're gonna go ahead and cover the economy stuff, but yeah, I got some really cool, exciting things for this. For MSFS news, I know the new sim update just came out. If you guys, I hope you guys had a pretty okay sim updates. But apparently, from what I saw in the notes, was there's a lot of improvements, including less VRAM usage in several areas, improved boot and loading times, fixed Xbox crashes, and optimized thumbnails and service loading. So yeah, I got to load in pretty quickly this time around. Should be interesting as well. There's also the new city update that came out for Germany, and for the new local legend for free, they add the Eurocopter EC-135 is now added to the sim. It's now completely free. You can get the Eurocopter now. And then for 2024, they're doing the new Pot-7 version 2, rebuilt for MSFS 2024. So they're now reworking this. So hopefully it'll be a lot better this time. I would love to do more of the -7. But I'm curious to see how it is. I'm hoping it's much better. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, this scenery just looks fantastic, of course. So we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about another part of Algeria for a bit. So yeah, I hope you guys have really cool stuff this weekend, of course. Honestly, there really isn't too much news right now. I know Mur's been gone for a bit, so that's why there isn't really news. Oh, Cardano brought their Baron B55 to MSFS 2024. They did bring that for. Like I said, I'm not really keeping an eye on things too much with add-on. Like, oh,
Okay, Google cancel.
sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah. I have a thing in my room that broadcasts message from upstairs, so yeah, something like that happened. Sorry about that. So yeah. So I'm gonna be gone next week on the 30th, I believe. I'll be heading out to Canada, New England. So we're gonna be gone for quite a bit. We're gonna be gone for 10 days, I believe. We're gonna be gone for about 10 days or so trip. So we're gonna be gone for quite a bit next week. We're gonna be in Canada, New England. We're gonna be sailing out of Boston, of course. I think we're gonna be leaving by the 29th, of course. So I think we're gonna leave in the 28th. I mean, we may not be streaming next week, potentially. If that's the case. Yeah, we're gonna be gone next week. We're gonna be in Canada, New England. We're gonna take a 10-day trip cruise. on for the next. There it is. But yeah, it's going to be 10 days. But we're going to go from Boston to Portland, or over to St. John. Then from St. John, New Brunswick, we're going to go to Halifax again within our sea day. Then go to Sydney, Nova Scotia. Then go back to Charlottetown, our sea day. Then go to Saguenay, Quebec. Then finally an overnight stay in Quebec City to check things. Yeah, we're going to be gone for. I don't think we might even stream next week, depending on what time we're going to be leaving. So I think this might be our last. I think tomorrow, Sunday, is going to be our last stream in a while. I'll check, but yeah, we won't be streaming next week. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy this trip. So in terms of other stuff from Algeria we want to cover, I want to cover a little bit about Algeria's economy for a bit. So economically speaking, Algeria, its currency is the dinar. The economy remains dominated by the state itself, a legacy of its socialist post-independence model. As of June 2024, if we remember the turning point of Algeria, we're a joint select club of upper middle income countries. And as a result of the ambitious development strategy, and places the country in the same power as emerging powers like China, Brazil, and Turkey. Of course, Algeria has struggled to develop industry outside of hydrocarbons because of the high cost in state bureaucracy. The government's efforts to diversify the economy by attracting foreign investments had done little to reduce high unemployment rates or housing shortages. And the country is facing a number of short-term and medium-term problems, like including needing to diversify the economy, strengthen political, economic, financial reforms, improve business climate, and reduce inequalities for the. Of course, thanks to strong hydrocarbon revenues, it has around $173 billion of foreign currency reserves and a stabilization fund. It has extremely low external debt, with only about 2% of the GDP debt. However, the economy is very dependent on hydrocarbon wealth, and despite high foreign exchange revenues, its budget is more risk to strong lower revenues. There's that too. Of course, speaking about economy, of course, oil and natural resources are a big part of Algeria's economy. It has been an OPEC member since 1969, and crude oil production is around 1.1 million barrels of oil per day. It's also a major gas producer and exporter with ties all over Europe. And hydrocarbons have been around 60% of all budget reserve revenues, 30% of GDP, and 87% of all export earnings in the Algerian economy. The country has the 10th largest reserves of natural gas in the world and the 6th largest gas exporter. It also ranks 16th in natural oil reserves. Non-hydrocarbon growth was projected at 5%, and of course, in recent years, has been trying to do non-hydrogen growth. National oil company is Sonatrach, which plays a role in oil and natural gas sectors all over Algeria. And access to biocapacity is lower than world average, as Algeria had 0.5 global hectares of biocapacity. that is something to keep an eye in Algeria. Let's look. So if you look to our west, you can definitely see some of the mountains here look pretty crazy. The terrain here, really cool. That's beautiful, though. Beautiful stuff here. Of course, we'll descend down to 1,500 feet when we get to the mountain range. We'll descend. And we'll make our second stop very short. So we'll be heading down here pretty shortly. We're going to go ahead and descend down to 1,500 feet. So we're going to go ahead and descend down. Second stop. So our next stop is going to be the city of Bijaya. Formerly known as Bougie in Bougia. This Mediterranean port city is on the Gulf of Bijaya in Algeria, in the capital of the province. And it owes its existence to the natural port located in a single ship bay. It's one of the most beautiful bays in all the Mediterranean coast. And of course, historically, this area was around the old settlement site in Algeria, dating back to 40,000 to 20,000 BC. Mainly, it was a pretty important city for the Romans, of course. And it was mainly used as a modern city as stuff as well. Economically speaking, it's known for its oil pipeline, as well as a cork industry. Iron ore, phosphates, and wine are a big part of the ports. But this city was actually one of the more important port cities in Rome, especially in this part of the Roman Empire. Pretty cool stuff. Oh, I got another Air Economy event going on. We're going to head our way to Bijaya for our second to last stop. Okay, Thursday. Yeah, there'll be no streaming next week, guys. So I'll let you know Sunday. After Sunday, I'll let you know when we're not going to be streaming. And yeah, Sunday will officially be the last stream for a couple weeks. I'll let you guys. stop here. Yeah, beautiful little city here on the National Port. We'll stay right here for a little bit, about a minute or two, prepare for the third and final leg of the stream. We're going to head to Algiers. We're just about 111 nautical miles out. Let's go ahead and prepare for the third and last leg of the stream. Go ahead and cover third leg. So this one is going to be in row. This is the Sea of DAAG. Yeah, definitely a beautiful natural harbor. DAAG. Pretty cool. DAAG. Coast. Here, guys. Yeah, coastline is just gorgeous. What a beautiful coast. Gorgeous, this entire scenery. That's a get the entire coastline in the back. That's just gorgeous. Yeah, this part of Algeria is pretty. Definitely, very much so. So we're going to be climbing up to 6,500 feet. So let's go ahead and cover a bit more of Algeria as we head our way over the country. Let's start with tourism in the country. I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the country's tourism. It has previously been hampered by a lack of facilities, but since 2004, a broad tourism development strategy has resulted in many hotels in the high markstone being built, mainly in Algiers. Now, there are several UNESCO World Heritage Sites in the country, including Al-Qala of Beni Hammad, the first capital of the Hammadid Empire, Tipasa, a Phoenician later Roman town, Djamila and Temgrad, Roman ruins, Bazab Valley, a limestone valley containing the large urbanized oasis, and the Kasbah of Algiers, an important citadel. The only natural World Heritage Site is the Qasil Algier mountain range, located in the southern half of Algeria, where you can find a lot of tour caves. There's a lot more than that, though. But yeah, there's a lot of World Heritage Sites. There's also a lot of really cool museums and stuff. The Algerian Sahara is actually one of the most important destinations. It's the Saharan Algerian Sahara, due to the fact that hiking, camel rides, 4x4s, and more are very popular here for a lot of places. Of course, you don't want to go here by the summer. You want to go there by the winter, obviously. But there's a lot of really cool places in Algeria worth visiting if you know where to look. In terms of transportation, at least, it is the 10th largest nation in the world. And as the 10th largest nation on Earth, and the largest Africa, Algeria has a vast transportation system that includes large and diverse transportation infrastructure. In terms of railway, there's about 4,500 kilometers of railways, and they're mainly operated by the SNTF, National Rail Transportation Company. But of course, one big part is the highways. Due to extensive investment, the motorway network in Algeria is actually expanding. Currently, Algeria has over 96,000 kilometers or 60,000 miles of paved road. I believe there's around 110,000 miles of highway. And this network will be complemented by the upcoming East-West Highway that's still under construction. And it's a three-way, 1,200 kilometer long highway that connects Annaba from the extreme east to Tin-Cinnamon in the west. It's also crossed by the Trans-Sahara Highway, which is now paved, and is supported by Algerian government to increase the trade between Algeria and a couple of countries that the highway. Also, in addition to this as well, Algeria has several ports. In Algiers, Annaba, Beja, Oran, and Tennis. Some of the airports. And of course, for airports, the big one's Algiers. It also has a very and finally, for transportation, it also has one of the highest numbers of train systems among developing countries, and by far the highest among Africa, with 7 of these are crossing the different major cities all across the country. So yes, Algeria actually has quite a bit of things going for it. Pretty cool stuff, but yeah. Here appears. Beautiful landscapes. Really cool. Yeah, we're finally at 6,500 feet here in Algeria. If you want to know the next time we come back, we're going to be doing Algeria. So let me show you what our Algeria stream would be like. So we're going to be going from Pamplona. We're going to head over to Aerodrome. Where it's going to be a 3-leg flight. I think I'm probably going to take a slower aircraft for this. And we're going to fly over from Pamplona. We're going to make our way over to LAPG first leg. Then from there, we'll go to Lima Echo Sierra Uniform, and then we'll fly around Andorra. And yes, Andorra is country. Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting, though, flying from Andorra. Yeah, you can see Andorra is going to be very small. Yeah, right in front of us, if you look to our front, this is the Jura National Park, featuring some of the tallest mountain ranges in the northern half of the country, located right here. Yeah, yeah, it does not have its own airport. That's exactly correct, Sterling. That it doesn't have its own airport. It's small. And trust me, some of the countries we'll be visiting are quite small, so exactly correct. We're going to continue on this way for a bit longer. This is incredible, guys. Absolutely. Yeah, look at the mountains. That's absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful mountain range. Gorgeous. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Algeria for a bit more. So we're going to be talking about Algeria's culture for a bit. But culturally speaking, Algerian culture, um, modern literature in Algeria is split between Arabic, Tamazight, which is one of the Berber languages, and French have been strongly influenced by the country's recent history. In the 20th century, famous novelists include Mohammed Dib, Albert Camus, Kateb Yassin, and Alham Montagami are widely translated. In the 80s, one of those include Racine Memory and Tahar Dajout. Of course, when you look at the air stuff, I guess I put this twice. As well. And then Algerian cinema is widely varied in genre, exploring a wide range of theme issues, and focus on war of independence to films more of the everyday lives of Algerian. It's a big part of Algerian culture. In terms of cuisine, Algerian cuisine is very rich and diverse thanks to its interactions with various other cultures over the centuries, both land and sea. Products, conquest, and demographic movement towards Algerian territory were the two main factors of exchange of the people. And Algerian cuisine is a mix of Arab, Berber, Turkish, and French roots. And Algerian cuisine offers a variety of dishes depending on the region, but vegetables and cereals remain at the core. Most Algerian dishes are centered around bread, meats, which includes lamb, beef, and poultry, olive oil, vegetables, and fresh herbs. Vegetables are often used for salads, soups, tagines, couscous, and sauce-based dishes. And the most famous is couscous, which is the national dish. Now, if you guys aren't aware about couscous, couscous is basically, which is basically different granules. And couscous is, it's a very time-consuming process. As you have to moisten up the granules of semolina with water and olive oil rubbed together until they form small uniform balls. Then they are steamed in a special pot for about an hour until they're fluffy and tender, while the meat and vegetables are cooked in a separate pot. And then later is combined with the cooked couscous and garnished with fresh herbs. And this is a very popular dish in Algeria. They make all sorts of different dishes. You can have some with lamb or beef, vegetable, fish, different sausages, chicken, and more. But you make all sorts of different couscous. And couscous is very popular all across North Africa. It's not just Algeria. Couscous is very popular in all of North Africa. But the Algerians do it their own way, but there's plenty of other dishes as well. They make several types of pastries, such as burek, which is a savory pastry. They also have borek, which is fried spring rolls. Majeb, flatbread stuffed with onions and tomato sauce. And several types of soups as well. Yeah, basically, there's definitely a lot of types of different stuff with their. You can take a look at the mountain range for a bit. Look how close we are to the mountains. Beautiful mountain ranges here in Jura National Park. Really pretty. You out here. So we're just about 60 nautical miles out from our final stop here in Algiers. So we're getting pretty close to the capital city, of course. Now, in terms of other parts of culture, literature is pretty big deal here as well. In more modern times, in literature, many of them have been more associated with social problems, as well as shocking expressions and more. But the big part about Algeria, the last major cultural thing I do want to talk about Algeria before we get to Algiers, is sports. Various games have existed in Algeria in antiquity, such as a variant of chess known as El Kerba. Playing cards, checkers are all part of Algerian culture. Racing, known as Fantasia, rifle shooting are a major part of many Algerians. The most popular sport in the country, however, is football. In the Algerian national team, known as the Desert Foxes, have a strong fan base and have achieved success both domestically and internationally. Algeria is one of the most successful teams in all of Africa. They even won an Afro-Asian Cup of Nations in 1991. They won the Cup of AFCON twice, 1990 and 2019, and more. They've been one of the most successful teams, national teams in all of Africa. And of course, one very famous Algerian, French Algerian descent footballer, Zinedine Zidane, very famous player from Algerian descent. Definitely pretty well known. Well, and of course, Algeria also has history in other sports: athletics, boxing, volleyball, handball, and studied martial arts. And Algerian athletes have competed in Olympic Games since 1964 and won medals in various events. And many sports clubs and organizations exist to promote and develop sports among young people. That concludes a bit of Algerian cultural stuff. Pretty cool stuff. We're now getting to Algiers, which is our final stop. I definitely appreciate you guys coming here today. I know it's been quite a more interesting week now that Murph's not here. Well, We're about to enter into Algiers in about 41 nautical miles. We'll be getting our final stop. We'll be entering Algiers soon enough. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the capital city of Algeria, Algiers. So Algiers is the capital largest city in the country, with over 2.9 million residents in 2008. In 2025, it's estimated to be around 3 million residents. It is the largest city in the country. It's actually the third largest city on the Mediterranean and the sixth largest in the Arab world, as well as the 29th largest city in Africa. Its favorable city made it the center of Algeria, Ottoman, and French cultural, political, and architectural regions for the region for what it's shaped to be today. The modern city was formally founded in 972 by Boulogne ibn Ziri, though its history can date even farther back to 1200 to 250 BC when it became a settlement of the Phoenicians. It was currently under control of many nations and empires, including the Numida, Romans, the various Islamic caliphates. Then it became the Regency of Algiers. Then it became the capital of French Algeria. And then eventually in 1962 became the capital of Algeria. It's the main tourist destination in the country due to its many museums, art galleries, and cultural centers, including the historic center, which is now UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Kasbah, which houses many traditional Algerian and Ottoman-style buildings. While the French side of the city is bigger and has many distinct styles over the decade. It was also the host city of the 1975 Mediterranean Games and other major African and international sports events. And many Algerian multinational companies are based here in the city. But there's all sorts of really cool landmarks here, including the Roman Catholic Cathedral of Notre Dame d'Afrique, the Notre Dame d'Afrique Bar Museum, the Moorish Palace that was built here, the new National Library of Algeria. There's tons of mosques here, and more. And there have been many films about Algiers as well. Most notably, the most notable film is the Italian film The Battle of Algiers that was produced in 1966 directed by Italian director Giulio Pontecorvo. Yeah, Algiers is definitely pretty interesting. Flying over the capital city pretty short. Pretty cool stuff. And that wraps up our slides for today. So that is every slide here for today's stream. Got that finally taken care of. Go ahead and wrap things up, and let's visit the capital city, and we'll land at Delta Alpha Alpha Golf. Algiers International, the biggest and busiest airport in the country. There's the airport over here. Hello? Is this a... Did I follow you when I was... Good to see the Slays. First time chat. I don't think this... So here's downtown Algiers. Here's the airport to our left. So we're here in Algiers today, Slays. That's where we're here today. We started our flight all the way back in Annaba. We went down, we continue to head west. We went to Constantine, then by Aija, and then we're now in Algiers for our final stop. That's why we're here for today. There it is, guys. The capital city of Algeria. Algiers. So I think we're going to raid Forder's channel when we get down landing and turn everything off. I'm going to probably raid. I'm probably going to rate MSS official. I think that sounds pretty good. Here it is, guys, Algiers. This is Algiers. This is Algiers. There's our airport. And that's it, everyone. So that's going to be it, everyone. And we've made it to Algiers. We finally made it to our last stop. So, guys, thank you all so much for your time here, spent here with me. We'll be back on Sunday. We'll be visiting Sequoia National Park in California. So, see you guys there. We'll go ahead and say hello to MSFS Official. We'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care, everyone, and have a great rest of your day and the start of your weekend. Goodbye, everyone.